Hi there, I'm Maria Van Vuklis and this is the Think Tank podcast. Together we'll dive deep on world-class business strategy, alignment, self-expression and self-mastery to help you grow your income and impact in the world. I trust that you'll find this episode inspirational and empowering for you to get out there and go for it. So let's get straight into it.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself if I haven't already covered it.
Yeah, so I suppose my background's financial planning. I've done it for a lot of years. I've created a lot of wealth for clients, moved into property, but it was clients that already had money. So if we look at the statistics, there's only 8% of Australians that use financial planners and 92% don't. So what I'm seeing is that there's a lot of financial stress out there and a lot of people just sort of struggling just to get by, make repayments, home loan repayments. And the more I sort of looked into it, the more I see around financial stress and what that does to your body, what that does to relationships. I moved into the behavioural side more. So really understanding people's behaviour around money, their limiting beliefs and behaviours that really hold them back and create that sort of stress in their body that everyone can work around it. It's just that they don't know how. So that's sort of become a mission of mine and certainly a passion of mine.
Amazing. So tell me, Michael, why is money so important nowadays, especially for women? I'm curious to know, how has that shifted over the last, say, about 20 years or so?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure whether there's actually been a shift, but what I see is that looking at the stats, definitely. So women have got about 40 to 50% of superannuation that men do. So women are paid less. They take sort of time off, whether that be a carer's role or sort of mothering children. So they actually pay their opportunity to build wealth and financial freedom is a lot less than men.
Wow.
And again, I'm not sure whether that has changed there. So that puts them into a situation where that they can have more stress, especially if they're in a relationship that either isn't working out, they leave the relationship there, they haven't got a lot of super, and they find themselves like doing it pretty hard in life, really. So that's always been there, Maria. And as I said, there's a few stats there around homeless women aged over 55 that's increased significantly, and we're seeing a lot more sort of what I call financial abuse against women. So again, not having that sort of safety around money and not having maybe a good relationship with money, so they stay in relationships longer than they should. So it's about empowering women to go, well, I am financially secure. If this relationship's not working out before it gets bad, I do have the capability to leave and still feel safe.
So you mentioned the term financial abuse. I'd love to know, what exactly does that mean from your perspective?
And it's a really good question because it's such a grey area. So financial abuse is when someone's controlling you around money and you're not included in any sort of discussions around money. So you might be working or not working, you might be caring for kids, it's still the same. So they track your spending, they want to know where you spent, where you've been. So they have a real control over what you're spending money on. And they use that, in a sense, they sort of belittle you. So they make you quite dependent, they make you feel as if you've got no control. There's other parts there where they can actually take loans. So they get you to sign guarantors for loans and things like that without you really knowing what you're signing. So you can get into sort of a financial situation there, but it's very much around, if you think about it, a relationship where maybe one partner takes control of the money, but then the other partner says, look, I just want to feel comfortable, can we go through where the money's invested or how the budget's going? And the other partner's quite open to that and will go right through that. That's not financial control. It's just that when they've got no access to it, they're vulnerable, they don't understand money, and they're in this relationship where they, as they just get drip feed money in regard to what they can do in life, and that's monitored fairly significantly as well.
Okay, Michael. So this financial abuse that you've seen, that you've described, is this quite prominent still in today's society with women, or certain social economic places where we've seen this, or has this been addressed over the number of, X amount of years, or even in current circumstances with the economy? What have you seen?
Yeah, no, I mean, the stats are sort of showing that it's increasing, financial abuse. So if you look at the
Wow.
current stats, and that's by the Uni New South Wales and CBA, so the stats are saying that up to 16% of women, which is almost 1 in 5, are or will suffer financial abuse in their lifetime. So that's almost 1.4 million women. And so that's prevalent now. I think that's still got a lot to do with a lot of debt out there, a lot of stress out there. COVID has sort of increased that, but I think even the governments recognise that financial abuse forms part of domestic violence, and the government are looking at initiatives to really address this problem because it is growing, and we really need to, as I said, do something about not only stopping it from growing, but prevention and empowering younger women to understand what it is and look out for signs before it actually gets into that situation.
Mm-hmm. You talk about empowering women, and that was the key focus on today's chat. So I'm curious to know what belief structures have actually prevented women in creating robust thinking around money and their mindset around that.
Yeah, no, I'll do it whether it's a male or a female, but in regard to how they're brought up. So from 0 to 7 is when you're actually programming, and you don't really know that. So you're just looking at your parents, looking at siblings, looking at community, and that forms part of your subconscious mind, your program moving forward. So when you look at someone running their life, they run their life 5% in their conscious mind and 95% in their subconscious mind, where all the programs are. So if you're brought up with a sort of a scarcity, not enough, not worthy, which I see a lot of people in that situation from that 0 to 7, and it might have even been the parents doing the best that they could. It was just they were struggling or tight with money, or some of the things that they might have said around money that's left people with that sort of negative connotation around money. So without them knowing it, they bring that into their life.
Mm.
And if you look at their life run subconsciously by that program, 95% of their life, when they're sort of making money decisions or when they're trying to build financial independence, you'll find them either self-sabotaging or doing things to limit where they could be. And that's just, again, a part of that programming that we can change, which is the good news. But it's something there that's been programmed for many years, potentially.
Okay, and are individuals conscious about these self-sabotaging behaviours, specifically around money?
No, they're not. And what we do actually is the first thing we do, as an example, is we look at their money types. And there's 8 money types, and there's only 2 that are empowering, and there's 6 that are limiting.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at the emotions around money and we start to talk to someone around their emotions around money and where that puts them, and an example of that, what I see with a lot of women is potentially that martyr money type, where they put everyone first,
Mm-hmm.
put themselves last, and that's what they saw with their mother as an example. So that's their programming. So they look after everyone else and look after themselves last. Yeah. So when they're always giving and not sort of giving to themselves, they sort of find that same sort of beliefs and values with money. So who am I to be financially independent or be able to travel or to enjoy things in life? I've always got to look after other people. So that's one example. And then we actually go back through their money stories. So this is where I think the empowerment, because this is the awareness. So we actually go back and look at different stages of their life, ideally as far back as 5 if we can, and start to see patterns, understand, their patterns around money. And no one's ever really done that. So they actually sit down, they get quite emotional. They go, I've been doing the same thing every few years in regard to money. I didn't even know it. And that's where the awareness comes in. That's when they sort of, it brings those emotions to the surface. And they go, one, that's my sort of money type in regard to how I make decisions, my emotions. Here's how it's been playing out for the last 20, 30 years. I want to change it. I've got such an awareness now. I don't accept it. I really want to change, have a better relationship with money, and then in turn, a better relationship with myself.
Mm-hmm. So if someone was to create that awareness, how does one change or shift their thinking and perspective towards their relationship with money?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Very good question. So, and a lot of it's habits. So if you look at your programming, it is habits, and it's changing habits. So you might actually, as I said, never look at your bank statements is a really good example, because the flow of money there, you don't understand it, you're not sure whether you've got enough, and it's better if you just don't look at it. And if you go over your credit card limits, whatever. So what we do is we teach people to see where that fear is, what's holding them back. So they'll open up their statements every day. They'll see the flow of money. They'll understand it. They'll actually, we look at a budget. People don't like the word, but I call it an intentional spending plan, not a budget.
Love it.
Everyone hates it.
That's great.
But I sit down with clients and I'm going, you're paying, like a good example is home loans, where generally speaking, we can be lazy and the banks are making a lot of money from us. Banks hate me, by the way. So what we do is look at that. If they're paying 1.5% above what they should, we look at even getting on the phone and making a call to actually reduce the rate, or look at maybe refinancing through someone. But generally speaking, someone can actually look at their flow of money and improve it by anywhere from $6,000 to $20,000 a year, and not really changing their lifestyle. So they start to feel empowered. They start to go, I've just been wasting, like this money's just been going down the drain. And just for me to actually have a better experience with money, I can make decisions there, I can be empowered. And then, I mean, that's a lot of money, up to $20,000 that they could either pay off their home loan quicker, go on holidays, you know, things like that, that I suppose gives them that joy and happiness.
Fantastic, amazing. So you talk about empowerment and making decisions with money, moving forward. How does one consistently do that? And what happens if someone was to slip up and self-sabotage, let's say, or is that to do with beliefs or negative emotions? What's your insight on that?
I think that's that mindfulness. So that's that awareness if you get triggered. So what I find a lot of people is that they expect a habit to change quickly. Now, if a habit's been there for, say, 20, 30 years, they're going, look, I did this for 2 weeks. It's not working. It's just the way I am with money. And what we're finding with research is that it can take up to 66 days to create a new habit. And that's where people give in. So people saying, I gave it a go, it didn't work. It's like maybe smoking, you know, like I gave it a go, you know, I'm just a smoker. But that's not true. It's just, you know, one, having the awareness, having even what triggers you. So a bill comes in that might trigger you, and you go back into that sort of overwhelm, anxiety around money. But if you're actually looking at the flow of money, you're going, I've got that covered. Now I've got the money set aside there, perfect, happy days. And you do that enough, that's when you break the program. That's when you create a new program, which is so empowering.
And I love how you tapped in on awareness again, because I think that is the key in understanding and identifying those triggers and preventing them from actually following through with those sabotaging behaviors. So what are some common, say, triggers that most people get triggered by that you found working with people?
And a lot of it's to do with the relationships, to be honest. And this hence the work going down that sort of financial abuse. So people don't talk about money. So they're going into relationships, and if you're looking at a couple, they've got different values around money. They've got a different money story. They've got different emotions, but they don't talk about it. So we sort of talk about having this intimate relationship with money as a couple. And a lot of what I see is that couples, one partner, whether it's a male or the female, they're non-confrontational and they're anxious about money. So they want safety where the other partner's spending and enjoying life. So they go into this hole where they're, you know, feeling more unsafe and go, they're not respecting my wishes, but they're not talking. There's never that communication about what makes me feel safe. What does that look like? Here's my story around money. Here's why I feel this way. There's never that honest conversation. So allowing couples to actually sit down in a safe place and talk about what money means to them, and then set some common goals that brings them joy and freedom. It's not about money. So what will really bring you joy and freedom? And if you get that alignment and that respect that everyone's got that sort of different money type as an example there, you'll have a lot better relationship in regard to building that financial freedom, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a teamwork. So yeah. So for those that are listening who are in a relationship that do have joint finances, what would be your key tip in creating like a safe and cultivated environment where two people can open up and feel free to talk about that?
And I do think that they need support. They need a framework. I'm not going to say it's something that they might be able to do by themselves. We could give them enough framework for them to actually take a money type questionnaire that I've got on my website, look at their money types there, but then how do you have a conversation about what works and what doesn't? So it's really being able to sit with someone and going, well, here's my money story, here's my sort of beliefs and values, and if you can sort of bring it together. But it does need a bit of support there, because money is got so much energy, it's got so much emotion
Absolutely.
around it there. And then when someone pushes back saying, what do you mean I can't spend? You know, this is my life, so to speak, there, it can become confrontational.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to do on yourself, especially if you've got sort of limiting beliefs and values around money.
So the key here is to address those and remove those in order to empower yourself to make more empowering decisions around money, right?
Exactly. And it can happen over time. So someone that requires safety and someone that's a spendthrift, how do you work slowly? I mean, it's not going to turn overnight, but how do you bring safety into that relationship where you honour the spender as well? So maybe cut that back a bit, but come together in a respectful way.
Beautiful. So what is a key resource that you can offer the listeners in assisting them, or maybe someone they know, to empower them to create financial independence?
And the key is that money type questionnaire. So it's on my website, it's available on my website, and that gets you actually starting to look at what your money type is and sort of a reflection on how you make decisions around that money type. And then I'm offering a 30-minute meeting to actually dig a bit deeper and just give them some ideas that they can actually go away with and start changing their sort of money type to a healthier one. Get them looking at money differently, get them to say, well, I can improve my relationship with money. I can be empowered to look at the flow of money and have a better relationship. So that's just the start there, but it gives them enough to sort of go away and, as I said, get some control.
Excellent. Thanks, Michael. Is there any last words or anything you'd like to share with the listeners to wrap this up?
I just want to, I suppose, put out there that really ask people to lean in. So really, if you look at money, financial stress, it's the leading cause of relationship breakdown, anxiety, depression, and cancer. So it's really, and everyone's money story is not necessarily their own, it's just how they're brought up and their programming. So it's almost a taboo subject, but it's up to everyone to actually go, well, if I understand money, I'm going to have a better life, I'm going to have better relationships, I'm going to have a better health. So just reach out and give yourself that opportunity to have that roadmap to sort of financial freedom, which is, everyone deserves it.
Absolutely. How can the listeners connect with you?
So they can go on my website, which is www.caretogrow.com.au. And there's a free consultation there that they can actually connect with me. And that sort of sets up a very confidential private meeting. So as I said, it's non-judgmental. And I think that's the key, where there's a lot of emotion around money, but not with me. I've been through it. Everyone's been through it. So I say it quite normal. There's so many people going through financial situations there and improving their relationship with money. So come on board.
Thanks so much, Michael. It's been such a pleasure chatting to you today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Think Tank podcast. I'm your host, Maria Van Buklis. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into all tips and tricks you can use to help your money grow. As always, you can head over to mariavanbuklis.com to sign up to my email list, as well as check out all the links and resources in the show notes. That's all for this episode. Till next time, be empowered.